Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. This is the second part of the series about summer 2023 and what we do as a family, but I don't know what we called this title, so here's what it is.
Seasons of Life.
Seasons of Life, summer 2023. So in the last video, I mentioned about our breakfast routine going up through Bible, and I said that I would do a video about our Bible time as a family, so that's what I'm going to do now. Most of the time when we do, it is bright out here, but it's really pretty. Most of the time when we do Bible, we do it right after breakfast. Does this happen every day? No. I will tell you that we do not do it every day, even though we try to get it done most days. Sometimes on the weekends it's hard because of like Sunday for church, we're leaving before we actually eat breakfast because our church usually eats breakfast almost every Sunday together. So those mornings it doesn't get done, but we are going to church to do Bible. But our family Bible, I would say 5 days a week. And a couple times it happens in the afternoon because of something, if we have an early doctor's appointment or something like that. Because we also don't want to, we would rather do Bible than miss Bible, but we also don't want to cut Bible short if we have the opportunity to do it later in the day and we'd have to do a short thing in the morning. So anyway. All that to explain, we try to do it right after breakfast. So what we do is we all sit down in the living room. I try to keep the littlest ones close to me because otherwise they find themselves wandering around places. Well, they don't find themselves. I have to remind them that they're wandering around places and they gotta come back. But we usually get out hymnals. We recently have purchased, I don't remember. What's the name of the church? Grace Bible.
Grace Community Church.
Grace Community Church put out hymns of praise, hymns of grace that a couple different churches we've been to. The one in Tennessee uses, the one we go to currently, all use this hymnal. So we bought a couple copies of it so we could learn songs from it, and then we could also, some old hymns, different churches sing different verses of it or different words, the words might be slightly different. So we wanted to get the hymnal that our churches were using. So we have those, and so we passed them out. And one of the hymnals, this might just be helpful for a family, we have made one of the hymnals our master copy, and we went through and we highlighted the songs we know, because sometimes you forget how many songs you actually know in the hymnal. And also in this hymnal, there are some songs where there's 3 different versions of the same song, so we have figured out which tune we know so that we can sing the right tune. So what we did was we highlighted all the songs. The ones that we know really well as a family, we circled. The ones we know every verse, we can sing it in the car with nobody asking questions, that type of song. And then the other ones that we know, no matter how well we know them, if it's not something we know every word for, we underlined it. So those might be songs that we're trying to learn, we know enough we can sing during family worship, but we don't know the song well, or a song that we just don't quite have all the words to. Because you can easily change that underline into a circle around it. So it's also really nice because we have young kids, and so sometimes they want to pick a song and they'll just pick some random number and we're like, we don't know that one. No, we don't know that one. Because even though we know a lot of songs in the book, they tend to pick the ones you don't know. I don't know why that happens. But we can give, Malachi's 3.5, we can give him the master copy and he can pick any song that has highlighter on it and we can sing it as a family. So that makes him be able to be part of family worship in a way he wouldn't be able to because he can't actually read the words yet to figure out which songs he knows. So we will do 2 or 3 hymns depending on the day. Sometimes we'll do 5 or 6, it just depends. But we really like to sing as a family, and we like to talk about things that maybe have, there's a lot of hymns you can sing over and over again, like Amazing Grace, that maybe something that happened during the week suddenly has stood out for you or whatever. So not with every song we sing, but if something really stands out of why this would be important this week, or do you remember that this relates to what we said, was said at church on Sunday, that type of thing, we'll point that out to the kids. But we don't do a hymn study every day. So we first do that, then we open our Bibles to whatever passage we're reading, and that really depends on kind of the season of what's going on. So currently we are reading Ezra and Nehemiah. We just started Nehemiah today. We finished Ezra yesterday or the other day, started Nehemiah today. Sorry if there's wind, don't want to ruin the video.
It's wind.
But we're reading those, and I don't know, why did we pick those ones, Daddy?
Ezra and Nehemiah?
Yeah.
History, I was reading some of the prophets, and some of Nehemiah was mentioning one of the prophets, and I was like, oh, we haven't done the history of going back from exile and rebuilding the walls and rebuilding the temple and all that. So we should do that.
Yeah.
So we did.
So that's what we're doing. So we
generally
have done
do the
different
whole
things.
Bible every 3 years.
Just recently, we did kind of a topical study, which is unusual for us, but we did a topical study about baptism because we have some friends that are getting baptized soon. So we were just like, what does baptism mean? Why do you need to do it? The church that we go to right now practices communion of all the saints, but of baptized believers. So, why is that? And just studying through what baptism means. But before that, we had done, I don't remember what we did right before that.
We finished 1st, 2nd, 3rd John.
1st, 2nd, 3rd John. We had done was it Ephesians we did? We did James. We did a bunch of the smaller books in the New Testament. Earlier in the year, we had done Matthew and Mark.
Yep.
So we did Matthew, and we spent a lot of time. Sometimes we would only do, you want to show the peanut gallery?
While we've been recording the peanut gallery, hey, nose. Hi.
The other one's still trying to park.
You guys aren't part of the video, but you're free to watch.
We get the first edition.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you see me laughing, it's because people are making faces at me. So anyway, we had done Matthew, and we had done just a little piece at a time. So depending what book we're doing and why we're doing it, depends
Driver's
on...
ed car. Sorry, Naomi's taking driver's ed from Jericho driving school. And they just drove by.
Depending on what book of the Bible we're studying and what we're trying to get out of the book, that time that we're studying it, depends on how long or how many verses we do at a time, how much of a section. So right now doing Ezra and Nehemiah, we're doing 2 chapters a day because we're kind of just trying to get an overview of what can we learn from this and a basic history of what was happening with the wall of Jerusalem when they were rebuilding it. When we did Matthew, that I'm talking about a while ago, we did just a short section at a time. So we might do anywhere from 2 to 10 verses, depending on kind of how the storyline breaks up in Matthew. And then when we finished Matthew, the end of Matthew, hey, Josiah, come here. Can you do a Bible verse for me? Come here. So we did Matthew, and the very end of Matthew says, And Jesus
came and said to them, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to you. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all I have commanded you to the end of the age.
Hold on. All that I have commanded you. And behold,
And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age.
Good job. You didn't know you were going to be doing that.
Sorry.
And Jesus came and said to them, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Jesus said that. But you did a good job. Good job. He didn't know he was going to do that.
To me.
Yeah. Beating Jesus, right? Okay. You did a good job.
Okay.
So anyway, that's how Matthew ends. So when we were finishing Matthew, we were like, what should we study? And Mark decided we should study Mark.
Well,
Mark decided we should study Mark.
We were talking about, at the end of that, Jesus says, teach them to obey everything I've commanded you. And we're like, what did Jesus command
What
us?
did Jesus
Well, let's
command?
run through Mark.
So we did Matthew very short spurts, but we talked about a lot of the stories that you then see in Mark. Sometimes you see a couple new details, but we had kind of discussed a lot of the stories that went on. So when we went to Mark, we studied a whole chapter at the time, and we just focused on at the end of what was commanded in this chapter. Like, was it commanded to a certain person? Was it commanded to a group of people? Is it something that we're supposed to do? Because
Lazarus come forth.
yeah, Lazarus come forth, not for
applicable.
everyone. Take up your bed and go home to the paralytic. That's not applicable to the rest of us. So we were trying to figure out what Jesus commanded that we're supposed to go out and teach. So Bible looks different what we're studying. But how we do it is we all open our Bibles. Everyone in the family can read except for Malachi and Gideon. Malachi is 3.5 and Gideon is almost 2. And so they don't actually read their Bibles. But everyone gets their Bible out and we start with Malachi. Gideon will probably be starting this soon, but he's not quite ready. We ask him sometimes if he wants to and he says no. But for Malachi, I will read 2 verses. And so if the verse is... Jesus came and said to them. So I would say, and Jesus came, and he'd say, and Jesus came and said to them, and said to them. And so I would say something and he repeats the phrase, and we do that for 2 verses for him so that he's learning the phrases of the Bible and how to say some of those big words and all of that. I think I might hear the baby awake, so we might get a baby out here, but big sister's inside.
What do you want?
I have a Bible like this thick.
You do have a Bible that thick, and the words are like this tall.
So Josiah, because of his cerebral palsy and epilepsy, has trouble focusing on small words, so he has a bigger Bible so you can see it. So anyway, we start with Malachi getting 2 verses. So Malachi gets 2, Uriah does 2, Abigail does 2. She's been doing 4 because she reads really well. Uriah reads pretty good too. Josiah gets 2 because his brain can only handle so much reading at a time, but he does really good with it. Yeah,
Hey,
you can bring
baby
him
person.
over.
Hey, baby person. Hello, baby person.
Wait.
You guys
I
do like
know.
a Jesus is enough advertisement or something.
Yeah, well, Jesus is enough is a good thing. So anyway, we do, Josiah reads 2 verses, then it goes up to big people do 4. So Samuel, Naomi, me, and then Daddy. And depending on how much of the Bible we're reading depends on how much that they do. So Daddy's been reading most of another chapter because we're doing 2 chapters, so there's a lot to read. But sometimes only a couple people will read. So anyway, we read through the whole section that we're going to read, and then we go back and we ask the kids, what did you learn? So we start with Malachi. And then we say, what do you learn? And he said, can you read me my verses? He says that every day. So we read his verses back to him. And he'll ask a question. And it's usually just, what does this word mean? Because he's still little and he doesn't know what his word means. So then we go to Uriah. Uriah usually has a little more, still asking what words mean, but sometimes asking, like, why did they say this? Because this seems different from last chapter or whatever. And then we go up through. Everyone has to, like, we ask everyone to have something to say. If they don't have something to say, sometimes there's not as much, or it's a passage we've just recently studied for another reason. Maybe we did it at church or something. So we don't, require that they have something, but we kind of expect that they'll have something because we all have questions about the Bible and what does it mean. And so then whoever can answer the question, sometimes Malachi's questions and Uriah's questions are easily answered by one of the older siblings. And even going up, like Naomi has a ton of Bible knowledge, so she answers a lot of the questions that come up. And we just make sure that they're accurate answers. But
We teach teachers to teach.
right. So everyone gets to ask questions, and we go all the way up through Mark, who has to figure out something to say because usually we've taken all the good stuff. And he kind of wraps up, what does this mean?
Overarching meta-narratives.
And then we go on with our day. So that's our Bible time, lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on the day and like what passage we're studying. We try not to cut it short because of an appointment or something. So like I said, we'll sometimes do it in the afternoon. After the littles have done their part, we usually let them play quietly on the floor. So it might be with Magnetiles, it might be with, we have some like toys that are specifically during Bible time. So like a Melissa and Doug,
Like the animal-shaped puzzle.
animal-shaped puzzle, or like one of those water pens that you can write with. Yeah? What?
Or we can color.
Yeah.
Or draw or color, yeah.
Yeah, they can get a clipboard and draw or color. So there's a couple different things, but they are expected to stay quiet and still be part of the conversation if we ask them a question or whatever. So that's what we do for Bible time. And I don't think I have anything else to add to it.
So what's our next video?
That's what we do. Oh, so our next video in this series is going to be what we do after Bible time through lunchtime. Right?
Yeah. Lunch
Okay.
and maybe like early afternoon.
Yeah. So we will see you guys next time on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God.
You want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.